Alright, so today we're going to be removing the entire AC system, and it's shown here in the big green book. So we have the condenser, which is like a radiator type thing on the front. We have the cooling unit, which is under in the dash. We have the tube that holds some of the liquid Freon. We have all the lines up here in the front. We have the hard lines going underneath the car and the compressor in the back. We're going to be removing all of this stuff. We don't need it. Don't need AC for a car that's meant to be driven just for fun. This is just extra weight. It's a lot of crap too. Also, these hard lines, when you're rebuilding your steering rack or trying to get at your steering rack, they're in the way. You're still able to get at your steering rack, but it's a really big pain in the ass. And also your compressor, as I showed in a video before, gets in the way of changing, your seals and your oil filter pedestal, also getting at the coolant drain on the engine back here. So just remove all this stuff. We don't need it. So what you need to do, let's get a flashlight. What you need to do is first have your system discharged. Mechanics can do this. You need a special machine that pulls out the Freon. Freon is very harmful to the ozone layer, so it's illegal to let it go to the atmosphere. And what can happen is they can discharge the system and then they can recharge it later using the same Freon. It's fairly expensive as well, so if you're going to be reusing the AC, then you want to do that. Mine actually was completely empty. The AC was broken. Maybe it had a leak somewhere in its previous life. This is a 24-year-old car, so I didn't have to do that because it was completely just dead empty. So I've already begun disconnecting some of the lines. You can see this is that liquid catch can down here. And all hard lines up here. This is the line that goes into the cooling unit. In the dash. So we're going to be starting with here with these lines, and also we have the regular radiator right here, and then in front of it, just right here, that's the condenser in the front. So we're going to be removing that as well. Also the compressor in the back is going to go, and we'll do that step by step. Alright, so now that we've removed all the lines and the canister here, just one thing to note is we had to remove the bracket holding up the fuse box here to get at these two lines. And we can see all the stuff that we just removed. Some of the hard lines, the canister, everything like that. Now what we're going to do is get rid of the lines going to the evaporator, or the condenser, sorry. That's one down here going through the floor. And there should be another one right here. So those are going to the condenser here in the front, and there's two lines going underneath, and we're going to remove those so that we can remove the condenser. So just an update on the removal. I was wrong before. This line actually doesn't go underneath the car to the condenser. That one's something different. Only this one here we pulled through. We actually pulled it through. And it's hanging now just under the car. You can see it here, just hanging loose. And what we're also going to have to do is remove these two fans. So the MR2s that have AC actually have two fans, whereas the MR2s that don't only have one fan. We're going to need to remove those. Be careful, I broke all the bolts. They're all rusted, so I just broke them right off. So be careful there. And so this is this line going to this part of the condenser. Now the other line actually goes underneath the car and to the hard lines that travel underneath. So you can see here, this side actually goes to a hard line under the car. And this side was connected to the condenser, so that went through the floor pan there. So what we had to do to get at this connection to the hard line is remove this brace underneath the car. It's held on by 4 bolts, and you have to remove that to get at the connection and get at the hard lines. And that's we're going to be undoing that connection now and getting rid of this whole condenser. Alright, so now that we're done we removed the 2 fans here. We disconnected the connections underneath the car. One of them was so on there that we had to actually cut the tube, but we can repair that later. What we're not going to do now is remove the condenser. So according to the Big Green Book, the way to do that is to undo something called the condenser bolts, which are, there's one here, it's these ones right here. So this one right here and this one right here, and then we have to undo these 2 bolts for the radiator, and then we remove the connections from the hoses to the condenser, and then it should just come out. So let's give that a try. So the next step here is to undo the connections to the condenser. So we actually remove the grill. Where is it? It's up here. So we remove this plastic grill. It just has 3 regular screws attaching to it. And we're going to remove the connections here. So we got one on this side and one on this side. And once we remove those, the condenser will actually just slide out. And just to note here, be careful. These bolts, the condenser bolts as well as the radiator bolts, actually all of them snapped. So be careful when you're undoing them, they're probably going to break. So we've managed to remove the condenser. It's sitting over there now. We had to get a little bit creative to remove it. As you can see here, I had to actually put a few extensions together to get the 10mm bolts that connects the condenser to the rest of the car. I can show you over here which ones I'm talking about. So it's the ones that bolt into here. There's a rubber bushing under here on the car. This is what the condenser sits on, so when the car vibrates, it doesn't damage the condenser. So it actually snapped, or actually no, it didn't. It just shows you this here. This nut goes on the top, and to get at these, we had to use a super long extension to go down and loosen them on both sides. That's the only way I could see to get it out. And then once those are loose, you can just remove the whole system. Now, just to make a point here, these connections at the front were super seized, so I actually just cut the lines using a metal saw, and I'll repair these later if I need to. But you might want to use some heat if you want to keep these and not cut, but I don't really care, so I'm just cutting them. So we finished up the front. We removed the condenser, all the piping, did the piping underneath. So now we've lowered the front of the car, raised the back of the car, removed some of the underbody covers, and here are some of the hard lines that we took off. And there's 2 more hard lines that we need to remove in the back, and those are connected right to the condenser, the compressor. And then we'll be removing the compressor. Now, the compressor is already off the engine block from a previous video, so right now it's actually just hanging on with a wire. The extra step you're going to have to do, look at my other video on how to remove the AC, and it shows how to disconnect the compressor from the engine block. It's not that complicated. It should take about 30 minutes for that portion, and then the rest, I've been working at this all day, so give yourself lots of time to remove the complete AC system. And again, we're going to go under the car, remove the 2 last hard lines to the compressor, and then the compressor itself, and then we're done. So the compressor has been removed. Be careful, there is one electric connection to the compressor. Mine actually broke because I forgot to disconnect it before lowering the compressor. And be careful, the compressor is fairly heavy. Mine just dropped right out, so don't be right underneath it when it drops. Let's go take a look at the compressor here. So the compressor's out. It's fairly heavy. If I had to guess at its weight, I'd say, let's take a look here. See if I can lift it up. Let's lift it up here. I'd say 10 pounds, 15 pounds. So this is the whole AC system here. The compressor, the condenser, all the lines. The evaporator is still in the car. It's behind the dash. We'll take it out later when we're not so dirty. But so to estimate the total weight of this removal, I'd say about 15 pounds. The condenser here, I'd say about maybe 10, I don't know. You know what? This is more than 15. Probably 20 pounds, 10 pounds. That stuff almost weighs nothing. I'd say 5 pounds for all of that. And also one more thing is that you don't have to use 2 fans now. You can just use 1. And these fans weigh about 5 pounds. So 5, 10 is 15, plus 5 is 20, 20, say about 40 pounds. And the evaporator in the car I know is about 2 pounds. So total weight savings is about 42 pounds. Not that huge amount, but the important thing is here now the car is much less complex. All these lines aren't running under the car, and it makes it easier to work on the rest of the car, especially the steering rack, the engine coolant drain, oil filter pedestal, all that stuff, oil cooler lines. It's all easier to work on now because this stuff is removed. So if that's what you want, go for it, and good luck.